All right, guys. My name is Amee Stevenson, and I am a UHD and Scholars Academy alumnus. Dr. Parker reached out to me because she wanted me to discuss some of the things that helped me get to where I'm at right now. Some of those things are what influenced me to go into computer science, some of the service-oriented activities that I got involved in, the conferences that I went to that definitely impacted me in a positive way, and the mentors that guided me along that path. So I'm going to go on ahead and share my presentation, and y'all just let me know if you can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it.
We can see it.
Okay.
Good.
So again, my name is Amee Stevenson. I presently am working for Lockheed Martin Space Systems. My job title is ASIC and Fpga Design Engineer. Basically, ASIC stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit, and Fpga is Field Programmable Gate Array. It's really fancy, but all it is basically, you know, the die that sits on the motherboard, that's the microprocessor, you know, the Intel die that sits on the motherboard. That is what I work with. So I work with the logic that goes into that. Basically, it would probably be your digital, I believe it would be your digital class that you take in computer science. Okay, so some of the things that influenced me to go into computer science, I was very fortunate very early on in my 20s to get a job working for for Schlumberger. And at the time, I was working as a secretary, but I ended up doing IT procurement for them. So that put me into working in the information technology area of Schlumberger. I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do. I had already started my classes at UHD, and I really struggled with the fact that it seemed like everybody else knew what they wanted to do, and I just hadn't a clue. But when I was working for Schlumberger and being exposed to all the IT equipment and the people there, I realized that I really liked computer science. So eventually I changed my degree plan at UHD from mathematics to computer science, and that kind of started me on that path. I wish it started sooner, but it didn't. So anyway, so the conferences that I went to Grace Hopper in 2015 and 2017. This particular conference is for everyone. You know, they say that it's a women's conference, but it is for everyone. And I have to tell you, if you haven't been to Grace Hopper, you need to go. Especially for women in technology, especially for validation that, you know, you've got something to contribute. It's quite overwhelming, you know, when you're sitting in a class and it seems like everybody else but you seems to know the answer or have the right answer, and you're struggling. I was one of those people. And when I went to these conferences, I got a chance to communicate with other people that had the same feelings that I had in an academic setting. The two conferences, let's see, 2015, the last one I went to, they were both in Houston, I believe. I don't know about this year. It was supposed to be held in Orlando. And then some of the service-oriented activities that I was able to get involved in. I don't know if you know Ava Ruiz, but she's still there. She's graduating this semester. Her and I, through Dr. Shastri's guidance, we applied for a grant from Google for their Google Ignite CS. And basically what they were what they were wanting is to influence the younger generation, especially the middle school and high school students coming up, to choose computer science when they go into a university setting and stay with it. And the belief was that if they had more exposure to computer science, where they could see how fun it was or how engaging it was, the more likelihood that they could cultivate those people into choosing computer science at the university level and choosing a technology career. Especially for girls. You can see in all these pictures, I was able to use my contacts at Schlumberger to set up a hands-on workshop for the girls to actually take apart a computer. This was something that I had done early on when I started working for Schlumberger. It was easier for me to see everything about that was related to computer science when I was actually having to take apart a computer and put things back together and figure out, what was wrong with it. And then, that's the hardware side, and then having to go on the software side. And once it powered up, make sure that all the applications were working, everything on the network was working through, things like that. So I was able to use my contacts there at Schlumberger to help other students engage them, get them interested. And it was very successful. We went to the Young Women's Academy there, just outside of downtown. We did a workshop with them, a week-long workshop with them. Ava also was able to do a week-long workshop with, I believe, a middle school in Fort Bend County. So that was very informative. NC Witt was able to engage other people at Schlumberger that I didn't know on the corporate side in order to help sponsor this event as well. So we were very lucky to have all of those sponsorships come in. Let's see, next slide. So I don't know if you guys, well, I guess by now you know about HENAC. I didn't know a lot about HENAC. I remember the posters going up around CLCC and other people that had gone to HENAC. I would have to say my faculty mentor, Dr. Shastri, was really the one that pushed me to attend, because it was out of state. And I wasn't really keen at the time, I guess, on traveling because I was so focused on schoolwork. But he wanted us to present our Google Ignite CS poster there. And I ended up applying for the the HENAC scholarship, and I won. And it was the first one at UHD to win and receive an award there in 2017. Now, I graduated from UHD in May 2018, and I was able to start a master's program for studying the arts, teaching arts. And I wasn't really at the time looking for a job because I was focused on wanting to go back into teaching. I felt like some of the classes that I had come out of, I felt like maybe I could approach it in a different way and make better connections with the students. So that was my focus at the time. But my senior thesis that I did for Scholars Academy was detecting fake news on social media. Dr. Shastri really pushed me to submit it for poster and research competition at HENAC 2018. And that particular conference really is the one that put me on the path to my job that I have now. At that time, when we went there, I was just there for the poster competition. But Lockheed Martin, I don't know if you can see in the far right side of the slide, they have what they call a challenge box. And basically, it was a bunch of questions that were posed to Lockheed Martin employees that they had to work out for space systems. And as it was set up, if you were able to answer one of those questions, you were actually given like this golden ticket to go for a job interview, or pre-screening. Sorry, yes, pre-screening. So myself, and you can see the other 3 people there in that picture, Jose Gonzalez and Daniel Wynn, we were able to answer the questions, and we were able to go to the pre-screening event there for Lockheed Martin. I wasn't able to leave Houston. I didn't really feel like did very well in the pre-screening, but the person that I interviewed with, she really, I guess she really liked me. I had passed through the technical portion of the interview by answering one of those questions from the challenge box, and I think it was when I returned back from HENAC on the Sunday, everybody else had received job offers like almost right away. I had received an email stating, stating thanks very much, keep looking, yay. So I really didn't think that I got anything, but I got a call from their HR department that night, and I was offered a job there at Lockheed Martin, which of course I took and screamed and was so happy. But I have to say that all of these events, it's not just one thing that you do in your class, or one project that you're working on, but it's a combination of all of these events, the conferences, even this right here, your seminar credits that you have to do, the CV that they make you do, the resume, all of these things, that you have to complete. These are things that have helped me be at that point where I was prepared. I was prepared to talk to somebody at Lockheed Martin to interview. I was confident, because I had to speak so much. You do your speaking engagements where, you have to talk about your project in class, or if you're a peer mentor, you have to talk to your other peers. All these things kind of chip away at your fear of communicating. But by the time I got to HENAC, I was confident enough to speak to people around there and network with them, and it worked out for me actually very well. And then the other thing, I think the last slide that I have here, so this is where I'm at right now at Lockheed Martin Space. In Clear Lake, we're like quite literally across the street from NASA. As you can see in these pictures, I'm still involved in service-oriented activities. This is so incredibly important, because they talk a lot to you guys about networking. It's kind of a fancy word for just talking to people, right? You have to kind of push your boundaries, push your comfort level, and get out there and smile and say hello to people and be enthusiastic. People react to enthusiasm. If you're not enthusiastic, you've got low energy, forget it. Nobody wants to talk to anybody with low energy, okay? So, here at Lockheed Martin, we're still involved in a lot of service-oriented activities. CodeQuest, unfortunately, got canceled this year because of everything that's going on. But prior to that, we had CodeQuest last year. We do Young Minds at Work 2 times a year, and there are other service-oriented events that I get involved in, and I make sure that I'm involved in, because it connects you with other people at work that you wouldn't normally speak to. You're still having to work with vendors and other people to get supplies in and things like that. And, I wouldn't have had that ability, I feel, if I hadn't already been exposed to it at Scholars Academy. So you guys are in a really, really good position. There are a lot of opportunities afforded to you being a student, because a lot of the companies, you're kind of cheap labor until, you actually sign on for a job. So they want to hire you, they want to talk to you, they want to hear what you have to say, but they're not going to come knocking on your door. You have to go out there and go get it. my last slide here. So these I would say are my mentors. Professor Nakamura, when I started at UHD some 20 years ago, I used to sit in her class, and I was still sitting in her class 15 years later. And Dr. Parker, definitely the whole curriculum set up at Scholars Academy is designed for you to have the best outcome that you can make for yourself there. They set up the platform, and you just need to make the most of it and take off. Dr. Shastri was my faculty mentor from the very beginning. When I signed on, I changed my my degree plan over to computer science, and we kind of stayed together. So whatever projects that he suggested, I kind of challenged myself to take on. It was a challenge schedule-wise because I was really packed in with a heavy course load, but I was willing to take that on. And I would say that if I didn't have him making those suggestions for me to sign up at HENAC, to do the poster competition, all of those things, I would not have been in place to have answered the question and interviewed with Lockheed Martin. I was extremely happy. I am extremely happy where I work. And it's not anything I could have ever imagined for myself. And I couldn't have gotten there without UHD, Scholars Academy, NCWIT, CASI, all of these individual grants that were given to me. And that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? Hello?
I raised my hand. May I speak?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. We can't see you when you raise your hand.
Oh, it was using that function, but anyway. So what would you say was your inspiration to sort of give back to the community in the form of teaching and like doing those workshops?
Well, I'm going to be kind of honest with you here, and Mercedes, excuse me. But, computer science, teaching, being a student and sitting in one of those classes, you have to have a teacher that is really good, right? It's one of the tougher courses to teach. It's, besides it being technical, if your professor hasn't really taken the time to break things down, and be prepared to teach, to organize it in a way that so all the students learn it, it's a tough course to sit through. All those classes drone on, for hours on end, and sometimes you feel like, gosh, you could have just stayed home and taught yourself, right? But you have to go to school and get this credit. So as I was going through, because I'm an older student, right? I just kept finding myself thinking of the ways that I would want to connect better to the students. And with all the technology that we've got today, I kept thinking, there's got to be a funner, a better way to introduce these topics. So I think that was really my motivation to want to go in and teach computer science. It's something that I still want to do now. So I'm in the process right now of applying, studying for my GRE, and Lockheed Martin is going to pay for my master's degree in computer engineering, and I want to come back at the university level and teach, come back and teach, because I think sometimes, your teacher can kind of make or break your mental thought moving forward. It doesn't always have to be a weeding class, and it can be fun. Computer science is fun, and I enjoy it, and I just think that, there's room for improvement. So that was really my motivation for wanting to go in to teach. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have
Hi.
one question.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Where did you learn everything you know about the FPGA? Because I don't think UHD has many courses in FPGA and anything related.
Yeah, so the FPGA course, this is something that I've been talking to Dr. Shastri about. Uh, um, what's that class called? It's digital. What's that class called? It's digital. Dr. Chang used to teach that class. Anyway, it's the second part of your digital class. So if you look in your uh, digital textbook, is it Digital Logic? I think so. That's where it starts talking about the FPGA. FPGA is really on the computer engineering side. It's not computer science. Computer science is theory and learning languages. Computer engineering is actually the hardware of building a computer. So I think that the classes that best align with that would be like the computer instrumentation classes would give you a better lead into that. But yeah, the computer science classes don't really touch on FPGA, and right now that is like the thing. So there are free classes out there that you can take with Xilinx, with AMBA, ARM, that can teach you about just the basics of FPGA design. It's not, these companies aren't looking for people that know it, right? They're looking for people that kind of have had an introduction to it, because once you're there, they will teach you everything. They will put you through the classes. When I interviewed with Lockheed Martin, they asked me, have you ever designed an FPGA? I didn't even know what FPGA was, right? And so, of course, that was a pre-screening. I went that night and I looked everything up that I could so I could be ready for the interview. And in the interview process, I was completely honest. I told them, I do not know, anything about FPGAs, but because I had passed through the technical portion of the interview, they felt that I had the capacity to learn. And that's why they were willing to take a chance on me. But if that's something that you can make yourself privy to, I would definitely suggest it. It is very high level, but they are just looking for people that just know the basics. And if you can program a simple logic gate, I'm talking about an OR gate or an AND gate, right? That is fine with them, but it's something worth looking up, definitely.
I have a question.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Any other questions?
Someone had a question?
I can't hear you. You're going to have to, I don't know how the hand raising thing works, so just speak up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so what's the most useful...
Mercedes, do you see anything on your side?
Yes, I hear Yaisa talking.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. What's the most useful computer science class you've taken, and do you think it's something that everyone should kind of be able to learn from, no matter what field you're going to be going into?
I would say the best computer science course that I took that really helped me was digital. I think it was digital systems. Digital logic, your digital logic class, that's it. So the digital logic class is sort of once you start taking that class, it's comprehensive, right? You kind of have to have already had some knowledge in computer science, at least for what I'm doing right now. That has been the most applicable class that I've learned. The other classes would be the, learning C++, your object-oriented classes are very, very important, because that's the language. That's just the way things are done. Everything's object-oriented. Python, is a good class. Also, the theory of computation. That's a pretty tough class to understand. The teachers are challenging the way they teach it, but if you can take that class and understand some of the basic concepts, that's really important too. Finite state machines, it sounds fancy, but all it is a bunch of steps, and it's just being able to break down, a simple process into pictures. Those would be probably the best classes I would recommend. Your computer programming classes that focus on object-oriented programming, your digital logic class, and the theory of computation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Oh, one more question.
Uh-huh.
So, what's the biggest challenge you faced in your in your undergraduate studies?
The biggest challenge, I faced a lot of challenges. It was really tough for me mentally. Sort of sitting in the classes and just really struggling with all the material that was being presented. It wasn't so much about confidence, but it's like I really wanted to do well. That's it. I really wanted to do well, and I just felt like I struggled so much to understand the material. And that, led into the teaching, the idea of going back into teaching it, because I felt like it could have been presented better. But, when I would get my tests back and, I felt like I studied so hard for something and then it didn't translate into my grades. And, it was tough. Towards the end, my last semester, doing my senior thesis, that was one of the tougher things that I had to do, because I took on something that I didn't quite. It sounded nice, detecting fake news on social media. It sounded really nice, but when I got into the meat of it, I didn't realize what I got myself into. But fortunately, Dr. Shastri was really great about guiding me, and it's important to find your faculty mentor and really make use of them. Make it so that when they see you, they know your name. And I bugged him so much, because I just I had to figure things out. He would give me, this week I want you to do this. Well, I had no idea what that was, and I had to go Google everything on top of my, balancing my classwork schedule. So it was, it was tough sitting through those classes, and I was already, almost at the end, and it was just a matter of I need to finish this. I need to graduate. I need to wrap this up, and it was really just pushing through it. That's about it.
And also, did you try being a tutor or something? Because you speak about your passion in teaching.
Yes. Yeah. So over the summertime, I joined NC WIT had a program that they sponsored with Professor Gadd called Houston Prep. And I would definitely recommend that to anybody, to all of you, regardless of what profession you think you want to go into. Because, you can talk about how well you want to present material until you're the one presenting the material, right? So I was one of the teachers there in Houston Prep presenting computer science basics to the high school students that signed up. They had 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th and 12th graders, and it was quite an experience, and I would have to say that being in that position, it actually helped me learn, because when you're having to present it to someone else, you have to know you have to know it yourself, and it makes you think about all those times when you didn't know, and it sort of reinforces what you've learned. So I put myself out there in the arena, and I loved it. I mean, that's kind of like what helped me solidify the fact that I wanted to go and be a teacher before I got poached by Lockheed Martin. So yeah, I would talk to Professor Gadd. Houston Prep, they're always looking for extra help with the students over the summer. I don't know about this summer, but yeah, I would definitely speak to her about it.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, so you mentioned something about writing a senior thesis, and I know that in grad school you have to write thesis, or like these. Is that what every senior undergraduate does, and do you think that will help you prepare for the thesis that you have to write in grad school?
So Scholars Academy is very unique in their requirements. They push you, right? If you went through UHD and the regular degree program without going through Scholars Academy, you're not required to write a senior thesis. But one of the requirements of being in Scholars Academy is that they want you to write a senior thesis. So that's why I ended up doing it, because I had to, so I could graduate. But yes, it definitely prepared me for a lot of things that I couldn't even have thought of at that particular time. Because one thing is when you're speaking in an interview or with just, you know, the academic crowd in general, when they find out that you have done a senior thesis at your undergraduate level, you know, their eyes open, because especially if they're in academics already, they know what it entails. And because I had to do that, I was part of my degree plan, and I was in Scholars Academy, and Dr. Shastri really pushed me to, yeah, I mean, he really pushed me to do the best that I could. So that was the reason why I ended up doing my senior thesis. But it will prepare you. They have a good selection of faculty mentors there. Most of the faculty mentors, if not all of them, are doctorates, so they have done several theses, and they're probably published as well. So they know the process, and they're there to help you. And the more experience that you have earlier on, it can definitely help you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So I've had experiences before with computer sciences in general. I took a class in high school, but it was mainly focused on theory and actual coding.
Uh-huh.
If one were to revisit computer science, like, what would you recommend, like whether it be a program or maybe a class to take, or even like a webinar or a YouTube series? What would you recommend to see if you have an interest in it?
What I would recommend is, if regardless of what grade level you're in right now, I would recommend start working on a senior thesis. Start summarizing what interests you, because if you choose something that's good, it will challenge you in every aspect. It will challenge you in researching the topic. It will challenge you in programming, the programming side of the topic. It will challenge you in presenting the topic. Pick something that you like, you know, that really interests you. And if you're lucky and it's something that you can start, you know, 2 or 3 years before you have to actually do a senior thesis, by the time you're doing it in that last semester, it's going to be way easier. For me, I had no idea what I wanted to do. it just seems like for me, I work better under pressure because I had to come up with something, and because of the present political climate, that was why I ended up choosing detecting fake news on social media platform. But I would choose, like, get yourself interested in a project, you know, albeit hardware, and then work on the software side of it, because all the hardware out there has to be programmed, right? So, you know, if you're looking for something that you feel like, you know, you want to be inspired by, you want to be challenged by, start thinking about your senior thesis now. You know, start getting it all together. If anything, you will impress your faculty mentor for having been already organized, you know. And get involved with the projects around the school. There's a lot of them in your in the student research conference. You know, that's why they have you guys present posters. They're making you do research, you know, right then and there. And sometimes it may seem like it was too easy or the work was already done, but this, you know, it just builds on what you're going to have to do by the time you're ready to graduate. So, yeah, that's what I would recommend. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Okay, I think we're good, everyone? Yes? Okay.
So,
Can we all give a thank you to Amee Stevenson?
yay!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was a great presentation.
You guys hang in there. You know, I know this last semester, you know, some of y'all that are graduating, this is not the way you wanted to go out. But think about this too.
Oh, y'all, please, careful. We're hearing some noise. Okay.
Y'all need to think about, like, this is just an example of life, okay? This is just an example of how you have to adjust. You know, you're going down one path and you hit a brick wall and you've got to do a 180 and go find another way to get and finish your target, your object, you know, your goal. So I know this is a challenge for everybody. It's a challenge for people that are working in the industry and families. I have a 10-year-old and I have to remote school him as well as work at home. So you guys just think about, you know, that this is just a life example, and this is, you know, how well you do here is going to show how resilient you are. And put this on your resume, you know. Put it on your resume. Hey, I did my last semester remote schooling from the university, and include that, you know. This is a talking point, you know. They're going to ask you questions, and you know, you've got to be honest, but it's definitely a talking point for y'all. So
Thank you so much. Great advice, very true to life. So thank you so much, Amee Stevenson.
Thank you, Ms. Pettis. Good luck.
Thank you. Likewise, yes, with everything that's going on. Okay, everyone, good luck. Stay safe. Social distancing. Please follow all those guidelines and we'll get through it. Thank you, everyone.
Y'all take care. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't hear you, Dr. Parker.
I'm going to leave the meeting.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, we just ended it. Oh, okay.
Great.
Went well. Thank you.
I heard it all.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.